My dad was a CPA, my mom was a homemaker, and they were Methodists, and I grew up in the Methodist church, although I would say we were sketchy attendees. But they both had a deep faith. Part of me is going, well, how can that be if you went sketchily to church? But it is. In my dad's faith, my dad had depression most of his life, bad depression, and would have serious bouts where it would almost incapacitate him. But I have some letters from him where he spoke about his faith in the letters, and I remember sitting on the porch when I was a man, young man, but a man, talking about some matters of faith. How does God let this happen or that? But they were good questions. They weren't unbeliever type questions. They were just pondering the mysteries of the faith. I have my mother's Bible. They're both passed away. I have my mother's Bible, and I see where she underlined things and was thinking about things. And I was actually, when I came to saving faith, it was at during a Billy Graham crusade. I was a early teenager. My mother was watching the show, and I was watching Billy Graham, and it got me. So I came to faith in that regard, although I was also confirmed in the Methodist Church. I got mad at God in my early 20s. I also had gotten depressed, and remember sitting in a church listening to the sermon and just being angry at God for, at the time I was, had gotten a divorce. I'd gotten married way too soon and gotten divorced. But I was mad about that, and so I just walked out, and I probably stayed out of church for several years, 3-4 years, don't remember. Eventually found my way back. I got remarried. I think it's important as the head of household to go, and I was still trying to put in perspective who I was and what my life was about. So I was a CPA, and I was also in business, and I was climbing the corporate ladder. I had a lot of ambition, and I was working very hard, and against that background, nothing wrong with that, but against that background was, what's my purpose in life? I remember times when I was a teenager thinking that I might go into the ministry. That's how important faith was to me. But I never felt the deep call to service that a minister has. And so I didn't scratch that itch. So I got through a business degree, a master's degree, and I became a businessman. And but there was, I think most any businessman will tell you, that's not a satisfying thing in and of itself. We're not found in the purpose of life and in what we do. We're found in who we are in relation to Jesus and to God. So that ache was there. To do is what I do. Does it matter? You know. And so I was digging deep. At this point, I'd turned the attention that I'd given to making a career in business into understanding the Bible. Before I'd gotten divorced in my early 40s, late 30s, I read the Bible cover to cover, but it was mostly to find the loopholes because I knew that what I was doing wasn't right. But I wanted to read it for myself. I didn't want to take somebody else's answer or opinion about what I was doing, but it was pretty clear. So I had to go through that period. And then I was rereading it. I think in this time frame, it was when the Left Behind series came out. That was pretty interesting. Didn't want to be left behind. So that was on my mind. And my job afforded a lot of travel time. It's seriously hours in the air, hours in hotels. And I became quite a student of the Bible. Read it again, and I said I had my mother's Bible. When my kids get my Bibles and how much they've been written on, it'll probably just confuse them. I was coming home from Boston one night, struggling with this divorce that I'd had, and just trying to come to grips with, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough, God. You know, I'm just not. I got to get a little better with you Well, that's just so wrong, right? But that's what was on, and I'm sure it's on a lot of people's mind. And then out of nowhere, I mean, seriously out of nowhere, a radio program comes on. I had driven this, I was living in Boston. I was coming back from New York. I'd driven this road for probably the previous 12 weeks on a Friday, driving back. And like I said, it's a spiritual wasteland. There are no radio shows. But I found one, boom, clear as a bell, here it came. And it was a preacher delivering a message on the power of grace. And he'd been dead for 10 years. I listened to the whole show, and they were talking about who he was. Can't remember who he was at this point. But his message just was, get off your high horse, man. If the cross wasn't good enough for you, you're crazy. Got home, rushed upstairs, got the Bible out, read Romans, and it was like from then on, it was a whole different trajectory, because I was able to begin leaving a lot of baggage behind that was in the way. I had a very good relationship, I thought, with God, but I was still not clear about Jesus. I would profess the words, and I believed the words, but I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. And I remember praying, ask, seek, and knock. And I applied that to let me know Jesus, Lord. Ask, seek, and knock. It's his words, but they're your words. I want to know him. And it was like, boom. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So I would say, I've got that pretty well down now, and understand Jesus and how much he means to me. For 10 years, I've been working in this Arbys business. Prior to that, I had a number of they were good positions. Then I bought into this Arbys business, and we had great success, and we had some failure. But through it all, I began to analyze and question what a business application might tell me about a biblical principle. Or to say it better, I would read a passage of Scripture from any book. And then I would pause and I would reflect, well, what's that mean to me on a personal level? But the me on a personal level can't be divorced from who I am professionally. Just can't be. And I read, when it came out, or within a couple of years of it coming out, The Purpose-Driven Life. And it only occurred to me recently, Rick Warren sold 30 million copies of that book, largely to Christians who already knew the purpose. The purpose is found in a relationship with Christ. Well, why were we buying the book? It's because there's an inner ache in what we do, particularly if you're in business, to how we live. You can go to church on Sunday. Monday, you're in a secular world. As I was flying out to Colorado on a trip, still wrestling. This was like 7 years ago. Still wrestling with maybe I should chuck all of this business stuff and just go to divinity school or seminary. Go to seminary. Maybe I should be a minister after all. But God had that kind of a pull on my heart in that time, and it was eating me. I was really struggling with it. And I sat down and I had my Bible out, and a fellow sat down next to me, and I don't normally speak on the planes to people, but this guy plopped down in the seat next to me. He said, "Oh, it's just like mine." And he pulled out, mine's black, his is red. Thin little Bible, pulled it out. Isn't that funny? So we chat. And he's a chaplain, U.S. Air Force chaplain, on his way out to Colorado Springs. I was going out to Colorado Springs on business. And we talked for about 2.5 hours. I felt comfortable enough to say, but what about me? How does God use someone like me? And he looked at me with this kind of perplexed look, and he says, God can use businessmen too. I mean, it's like, duh, duh. And I just turned away and looked out the window, and I had tears in my eyes. It's like, yeah, he can use businessmen too. Hallelujah. I can do what I'm doing, and I've been gifted with. And I can still bring God and be the light of the world. And man, it was uplifting. I've brought my faith into my business. We're sitting here in one of my restaurants. It's called Miracle Restaurant Group for a reason. The fact that it is even in existence is a miracle, and no tongue-in-cheek. I still make mistakes. Everybody does, but I got a purpose. I know what it is.